kind of. Good evening. My name is Michael Blaze, and this is Unified Fathers for Life, a program dedicated to reuniting families, one father at a time. Unified Fathers for Life deals primarily with situations such as child support, visitations, getting your driver's license back, various aspects of things in nature and things of that sort. But on the program, the show Unified Fathers for Life deals more with the reuniting of families, because if you just start paying your payments, if you just start getting your driver's license back, that's really not impacting the life of your child. Or if you give $1,000 every week to your child and think he's cool and she's fine and everything, that is not reuniting families. That's not what the whole thing is about. So thanks to Comcast giving us this opportunity, we bring on people to discuss family issues, family situations of the common person, and solutions and encouragements to the common person. You are not in power. You have the ability to make choices, to have options. You have all kinds of options every single day, even though the system, even maybe your loved ones, all kinds of people might tell you, no, you can't change. How do they say, you can't fight the system? Right. It simply isn't true. You can change. You may not be able to fight it, but you can work with it, and you can change. You can carve out your own little section as Americans, and that's some of the things we're going to talk about here tonight. But before I get started, I want to give all praises to God for allowing me to be whoever I am today compared to the individual I used to be, you know, which was a scurv and a conniver and a drug abuser and a person who was wasting their lives and their activities. So these days I dedicate myself to reuniting families on every level, every possibility. That's how I came here. It was a possibility. I'll take it if I can tell people that they can make it different in the lives of their child, in their children, in the lives of themselves. So, and one other thing I want to say, we can't forget our boys over there fighting these wars all over the world. I've lived long enough to see how they treated the people that came back from Vietnam, and I just don't think that that's fair. I don't think that's right. Most of those young men, they just got to voting age probably, or and they didn't vote. They didn't ask to go over there, and as far as they know, they're doing the best they can for their country. Their country is America. When they come back, we don't need to introduce them to Republicans. We don't need to introduce them to Democrats or tell them, come on, homie, you're a brother, you're Hispanic, or you're this and that. When they come back, we need to introduce them to America, to a whole brand new thing of being Americans and being appreciated. So that's my one comment on the political and social side, is when these boys and these women, and there's a lot of women fighting over it. When they come back, we need to treat them with respect. And if we can't treat them with respect, the thing we need to do is not hinder their movements, because they're going to have to get reassimilated into a regular world again. The world they're living in now, that's not a regular world. You know, thinking about someone blowing you up every day is not a regular world or a regular life. Never knowing who the enemy is not a regular world. So when they come back, they're going to have problems and situations they need to go through, and we all need to get together and help them do that. If you see something on this show that you find interesting, or you'd like to make a comment, at the end of the show you'll see a email, which is unifiedfathersforlife@yahoo.com, or a phone number 213-673-2685. Feel free to call us. One of the things that I'm big on, I want to get together as many people I had. You know, they had the bad thing about step parents. Well, I want to do a show on the good step parent, because I had a good step parent. There's lots of good step parents. So if you see this show,
thank you very much. Yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, let's get on with the show. So now to my guest. This is Leslie. Hello, Leslie, and thank you for being on the show this evening. And this is Asia, who I didn't know was also a stepmother. This is great. I know you are a mother.
Right.
I didn't know you were a stepmother.
Yes.
How beautiful.
2 gorgeous stepchildren.
Oh, that is perfect. That's just what I'm talking about. Because like I said, I had a good stepfather. I really did. And I didn't really appreciate him. I mean, we didn't fight him, but I didn't appreciate the totality of what it means for a step-parent to go to work every day, take care of you.
Or
you know, especially someone as big as I was when I was growing up. I was eating, I was drinking. You don't dare ask me, did I have enough? No.
Wearing out sneakers and shoes.
Oh, man. When I was growing up, they had the patches. You know, you could go get
Iron
it
on
with all the different sizes. And colors. I had a whole drawer full of those. You know?
Okay.
My grandma wouldn't let me go get it. You know, you tore them here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gonna win.
So anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit this evening about a number of issues. Primarily, we're going to stick with education, home education, some of the situations of public education, and what some of the alternatives are for the people outside watching the show. Parents can empower themselves, empower their children. You don't have to let the Board of Education tell you that what percentage of people don't graduate from high school here in this area? 65% don't graduate from high. So I don't know what type of accountability they have, but as a parent, that simply isn't good enough.
Right. Definitely not.
If it was 50-50, it wouldn't be good enough. Exactly. You know. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things you guys have been doing. First of all, what is the situation you've been doing? It's not a charter school, or what is that now?
Actually, we simply run a Saturday program. We have children in our house on Saturday to supplement the education they're getting Monday through Friday.
Ah, to supplement.
Right. To add to, at this point, to add to.
I like that.
There are a few subject areas that our children aren't being taught, and they're essential for who they are and what they're interested in and their potential, so I include that.
So in other words, it's difficult to go anywhere and be successful unless you know who you are.
Exactly.
And a lot of times people are looking at these images that just they're not even the people who they're looking at.
No. Right.
So I like that. So you help them find who they are,
right.
or from the perspective of who they are, get into it, and then go on.
Right.
So they don't feel excluded.
Right. We explore their individuality.
I like that. Would you like to say a few words about this?
Well, I was thinking not only their individuality, but also...
Well, I'm sorry. What I wanted to know is the different. There's different things. There's homeschooling, Saturday afternoon schooling. There's what are some of the other?
There are also charter schools. There are charter schools. There are some options to the standard public education. Public is a misnomer also. I don't need to say that. But there are some options to public education.
That parents can take it.
There are charter
Tell us
schools.
a little bit about that.
There is
What is a charter school?
A charter school really is a school that is independently owned and operated, but it operates under the mandate of the Department of Education. It may not necessarily operate under the mandate of the school district, such as we're in Los Angeles, so most of the schools here operate under LA Unified School District. And they're broken down into districts according to census tract areas. But charter schools merely have to be sanctioned by the State Department of Education in order to operate. They're not mandated
many
by
of them?
local districts. Yes, if I'm trying to remember now as I was saying it. I think there are probably, and I could be wrong, if anybody got the number better than I do, I think there's something like 300 charter schools all over Los Angeles. And growing.
Really?
Right.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
impressive.
then there are ISPs, which are individual study programs. A lot of older children access those. Most of the curriculum comes from like local continuation schools. There are more and more people who
What is a continuation school, first of all?
Continuation schools are generally schools where older children who are having some achievement issues or issues keeping up or attendance issues have been transferred to schools somewhere in their community so that they can at least get the basics covered so that they can graduate out of high school. Most continuation schools, I believe, house 9th through 12th grade.
Right.
Would you support, I heard this once before, that teachers should be paid more money for the more students that pass and less money for the less students that pass. Would you support something like, or not less money for less that pass, but would you support giving teachers more incentive, not necessarily in money, more incentives for a more successful job? And there must be some way to motivate them to get more.
One thing is, I know for a fact that this society is one of the few where teachers are the least paid, least respected profession you could possibly underappreciated.
Right.
In other societies, in an ideal world for me, if I could flip the script, teachers would get basketball player and football player salaries. I think the greatest investment we have in this country, in any country, is in our young people.
And we pay people more basketball players and football players and musicians more to entertain them than we pay people to teach them.
So in other words, we can't blame teachers.
No.
There's another deep. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people
We can
thinking
go
that
there.
the teachers aren't
It's
any
not the
good.
teachers.
It's the system.
Because
It's the system.
I don't believe that for one moment.
Right.
It's
I
the
don't
system.
believe that these teachers are not good enough to get a
No.
better mark than 40% graduate and 65% stay. I just don't believe that. So there must be some other dark
that's
hand.
one of the. I think that's one of the. One of those. What do you call it? Like something like a bone that's being thrown out to the public and to parents and to people who might have some input into what happens in the school system. It's one of those things they throw you and say, well, if you paid the teacher more, the child would have. But it's not the teachers. There are some wonderful, wonderful teachers in the school system.
Right.
There are probably some that are burnt out. They're definitely overworked. When my oldest child was in school, teachers taught. They spent that 8 hours a day teaching. Teachers now spend half their day doing paperwork. And then, so the kids come home with 5 hours of homework, and they tell us as the parents, well, if you're a good parent, you'll make sure your child does this homework. And then
Right.
you wonder, well, if my child is out of the house from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. is dinner, baths, and if you got 2 or 3 kids, and they each have 2 or 3 hours of homework, when do you do that homework? So when the kid goes back to school because they've fallen asleep over the dinner table, and you send them back to school, then the school tells you it's something wrong, but the teacher is not allowed the time that they need in a classroom to actually effectively teach. So the
Right.
responsibility really is passed on to you. I mean, they do these broad gestures, like kind of introduce a child to a new subject or a new methodology,
And then they send
you
all the
home
work
to
home.
work.
Right.
And then if you don't
Right.
get it all done, and I have 3 small school-age children. They're 12, 9, and 8. And they're up at 6 a.m. They don't get home till 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m. we're struggling over dinner and homework, and so it's not the teachers, it's the system, it's the way it's set up, and that's what I say always, that our children are being set up to fail. And as a parent, I refuse to cooperate with that system anymore.
Right.
But from what you just described me right now, it seems like you might as well do a school program since you're doing this homework. Seems like you
Exactly.
might as well come up with a. So tell me some of your ideas, how you did that. That was your
And
your
that's
baby?
exactly how we came up with the idea. We were getting our children home, and they had all this homework, and we were going, okay, I can do this, and what am I sending you to school for? So what we decided was legally at this point, we have to send you to school. Okay, until then, though, the things that I think you need to learn, or the things that even the homework you're getting, we need to go over in greater detail so that I can make sure that you get it. The teacher stands in the classroom, she gives you a concept, she passes on, next concept, passes it on, next concept, the work comes home. So on Saturday mornings, we're not doing anything else. It's a Saturday morning, we've had a great night's sleep. We get up, let's go over the work we've done for the week. Okay? We've gotten past the work we've done. Okay, let's go on to some new things. What else are we interested in? What else can we teach you? You're open to things, you like things. Your sports, let's do some sports.
Wait, am I hearing you ask the children what they want to learn?
Of course.
Yes.
You're kidding.
No,
I didn't know the Department of Education doesn't do that, do they?
not that I'm aware
Ask
of.
them what they want to learn,
Not
how
that
they
I'm
might
aware of.
learn better, things like that.
No.
Well, give me some examples of the way you guys interact.
Ooh, how do we interact? All kinds of ways. We get up Saturday mornings. We do breakfast, which we do as a group. We decide what we're going to eat, where we're going to eat, who's going to clean up, who's not going to clean up, what role each person is going to play. We talk about our week. We sit down and discuss what we're going to do for the day. And if that is not in agreement with the group, then we'll change the idea, wherever they are. If they have work, we'll do that.
Hold on. I love this thought. I'm going to have to hold you for one moment. We're going to have to break for our public announcement. We'll be right back with you. Don't go away. I have Asia and Leslie, my 2 beautiful guests. And welcome back. I'm Michael Blaze, and this is Unified Fathers for Life, a program dedicated to reuniting families, just one father at a time. This evening we have 2 mothers. I guess you're a mother and a father sometimes. So you're the
Yes.
father of the year and the mother of the year. And I discovered you're not just a parent, you're a super stepmother also.
Yes.
I had no idea of that. So welcome back. This evening we are discussing some issues to do with educating your child, whether you personally get involved rather than wonder what's going on, or the chances of them completing just high school, let alone getting into college, is in jeopardy. They're telling you that less than 50% are going to make it out of high school. I mean, it's just not that complicated to get out of high school. It really isn't. all you need to do is go almost, you know. So
It
that's
shouldn't
not a
be,
good enough
sure.
answer, and you guys are taking some steps that we're talking about, and I'm hoping this will encourage some of our viewers to make the same attempt, at least to investigate it, these
Right.
other options. So tell us a little more about how you go about doing it.
Well, it's really just an investment in what our children are capable of doing. It takes a little dedication, some time, and we've made a conscious choice that they're worth it. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that they are part of the 50% or less that graduates from high school.
You know, you said you do this on Saturday, right?
Right.
I think many people, you know, male, female, young and old, just traditionally think, oh, Saturday is my day. Do you have any of that from the kids also?
Yeah, not only did we get it from the kids, but we also got it because we both do work full time. And Saturdays was a day you thoroughly clean the house, you do laundry, you shop, you try to get in some kind of family activity, some personal relaxation, whether you're going in the nails, getting a pedicure, whatever it is, you know, to do your own kind of personal thing. But I think the beauty of this is that, you know, we have a large family. We actually have 2 households and a half in one family. So we are a small
got a tribe.
village. We do. We have a tribe. And we are a small village. And what I was able to do is to kind of sit back and look at everybody in their role, so to speak, and be afraid for, you know, learning as I'm learning, what I'm learning about the schools and what I'm learning about some of the systems that we, you know, are forced, so to speak, to access. And I get afraid, and you start going, okay, well, wait a minute, I can sacrifice a little bit of this. And so what, maybe the bathroom isn't spick and span, Mr. Clean, clean all the time, because we got 5, 6 boys running out.
I don't know what you mean by that, but okay.
I'm learning to get comfortable with having my house have a lived-in look. I used to spend most of my Saturday morning, probably a good 4 hours of it, just cleaning, trying to make up for the little halfway things I did in the evenings after work. And I had to really look at my priorities and say what's more important, that my children are, you know, not only well-educated,
But loved.
healthy, happy, loved, but free. And that, you know, or my house is spotless. So, you know, you begin to prioritize your life. And I think I'd like to believe that happens for most of us as we get older. You start, you know, when you're 30, when you're 20, hey, everything goes, you know, party, party, party. At least that was my truth. And then it got to be about 30, and I started going, well, wait a minute, I got to settle down a little bit. There's something a little more important than the jeans and how they fit. And then you get to about 50, and you really start going, whoa, wait a minute. I've got children, I've got grown children, I've got grandchildren. My priorities began to shift. You know what's really important. And I say this, I have a 12-year-old, and I say that to her, I'm not going to always be here. And she goes, oh, Mommy, don't say that. But that's the truth, and it's a truth that I've come to terms with. And I want to be able to leave my children something, and not just money, because I really believe truly in my heart that knowledge is power. So if I can leave them that as a foundation, then hopefully there'll be no stopping them. You know.
Tell me a little bit about the Freedom School concepts and some of the charter schools or
That is a
things
concept of
what is the
Freedom
Freedom School? I used to hear about that.
You know, the concept grows out of understanding that our school system now teaches to the test, is a terminology that's used, is that the children are being taught to regurgitate, and not verbally but on paper, to be able to fill in the correct bubble, you know. And so the Freedom School comes from the idea that a lot of our lesson comes from the children themselves. Right. We're free, we're not restricted by the boundaries of a classroom and a desk and a map or even seats. We sit on the floor a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of us. We'll just sit on a circle in the floor. We're not even restricted to being indoors. We're not restricted to how the lesson is taught.
Or the academics of a lesson. You know, a lot of the sacrifice we've made for getting our hair done, yeah, but then even the upkeep of the house on Saturdays in our regular routine is implemented as a lesson.
Right.
You learn something every day in what you do.
Making
if nothing else
lunch.
but to share, but to take turns. some social aspect along with an academic aspect.
So even though these predictions, these negative predictions of the outcome of our youth, which are, you know, not even, many of them won't even get out of high school, even these predictions, they really aren't real. I mean, we can take steps now,
They're
even though they're making
reality.
it seem like this is what's going to, but
Right,
it really isn't.
right.
edged in stone. We can make
No.
a difference. We can look. We can start looking at our children now and seeing new hope, and let them see that even though the teacher said this, your marks say that. Hey, there's no problem with making adjustments.
Exactly.
Find a
Michael,
better way.
before modern school, people learned, first by carving stuff into stone, and we learned. There is a whole nation of people that learned in caves or in back rooms by candlelight, and they learned. We taught each other to read and write. We
Right.
taught each other to count. We taught each other to build houses. Before there was institutionalized learning, we learned and we thrived and we prospered and we succeeded.
And we did that hands-on.
And we did it hands-on.
Hands-on.
And now you have this business that controls not only what we learn, but how we learn.
Sit here, be still, do what I do, say what I say, repeat what I told you to repeat, do this when I say do this.
Robotized. And many of the children don't fit into that mold. People
Not at all.
don't fit into molds, So some people say, well, you can't cost effectively do that, allow everybody to learn the way they will, but there's a method that's been going on for years and years and years that works. Montessori. It teaches
heard
to
of
the
that.
student.
Right.
And we're trying to, we explore different options and try different things, but like allowing the child to pick what they want to learn about. My 12-year-old, we sat down and said, okay, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to learn? And my 12-year-old suggested some stuff, and what we found is when you allow them to choose what it is within the realms of
Reason.
Okay, we're doing science, math, history, the core stuff, as the state calls it. There are core subjects: math, science. She puts together
Math,
curriculums.
science, history.
Oh, you actually have a curriculum.
Yes, yes.
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
So when you stay within those core subjects, say, okay, what do you want to learn? Well, I want to learn about Napoleon. So, okay, we teach you. What you find is the children have a vested interest in
Right,
what they're learning, and the hunger to learn is there.
Right.
Now I'm not trying to force information and dates down their throat. They're looking for that information
Right.
on their own.
Right.
So there's a difference. There's a very great difference. And she will learn everything that the school believes that she should learn in a more effective way,
Right.
and will be more willing to learn it.
I have to take a moment before the show is over just to reveal one other reality. I don't want people thinking we are hostile toward educators or anything. I mean, you are also an educator.
Right.
Can you just let them know that you too actually are?
Right. I actually do teach. I've taught preschool. I've done after-school programs with older children. I'm not hostile. I just know that.
Otherwise, we love teachers. We're not against
Right,
teachers
no,
in
not
any
at
way.
all.
I just want to
Right,
let
no,
everyone
no.
understand that they're
No.
restricted.
Right. That's just it. I don't want to restrict my children to just the teachers that they're in school with.
Well, why do you teach?
I love children.
Why do you teach?
Well, I don't teach anymore. I now do some other community work. But I taught school because I love children. I love to see them grow.
Isn't
and
that?
thrive.
I wonder if they do that on the interview with a teacher, though.
Yeah, right.
I love children. I like that because automatically children usually will love you in return. That's a natural.
But you know what? As long as there are many teachers, I think that go into teaching, loving children and wanting to see them learn and feeling a sense of fulfillment by transmitting information. But the system, the way that it's set up, doesn't allow that
Right.
anymore.
Right.
So we're almost at the end of the evening. I want to thank you both again for being on the show. And I just want to point out to the viewers, if there's some additional information you'd be able to assist them with, they can feel free to contact me through one of my numbers, and that's area code 213-673-2685, your Unified Fathers for Life at yahoo.com. My guest here is Asia and Leslie, and they happen to be mother and daughter, but they function independently. They both have their own tribes and their own approach
Exactly.
to this, but something must be done. And so they're for me, they're like the urban plus. The urban plus, meaning they're looking for new alternatives, new choices, and instead of just complaining about what's going on, they're sacrificing and committing certain time, which traditionally is for other things,
Right.
for a better tomorrow for their children. And I think a lot more adults could do that. Again, I'm Michael Blaze, and this is Unified Fathers for Life. If you have any issues or a situation with child support, visit or a visitation, or you are a step parent, or you know a step parent that's super, call us or contact us. We're going to have eventually a super show with step parents who do a magnificent job and don't get the credit and props that they deserve. Is there anything in closing you'd like to say before we
I think
go?
in closing, what I'd like to say is that while we're here and we've mentioned the Organization of Hope, helping other people emerge, we are not saying that we have the monopoly or all the answers or all the solutions for what it takes to educate our children, to help them to succeed. We do encourage other parents, whether you're single or not single, you have one child or 20, to get more involved in your child's education, to take a part, and that doesn't necessarily mean jumping into LA Unified School District and doing whatever the approach is, but to take a more personal interest.
Not to
in
feel
the
so
way,
limited.
Right, that your children learn, and don't limit your children. The universe is a vast place.
I think, for instance, like before we go, like myself, I had a lot of trouble reading, and I think you mentioned when we were doing the initial interview that someone had said your son was reading right.
Right, that he wouldn't sit still and read, but he's not going to sit still if he's 4 and jumping around, and his interest is somewhere else. So you have to meet him where he is. You know, get him on a basketball court. Ask them to spell ball while you're throwing a ball.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, involve them in things
Get
they
'em
like.
right, get 'em
Okay,
hands-on.
we're getting ready to shut down. This went just way too fast. I'm going to invite you guys to come back and do this, or you can come back one time and you know, be my guest host. One of you can be Ed McMahon or whatever it is. And I'd like to thank everyone for viewing us again. And I'd like to thank Comcast for doing what they do. And Linda Wallace, John Webb, and all these people that support me. I appreciate your time and your support continuously. Unified Fathers for Life is going to keep on reuniting families one father at a time. Thank you.